From the banks of Dewey Lake, it's the Dewey Pod Monster.
All right, welcome back. My name is John, and this is the Dewey Pod Monster Podcast. This is a weekly podcast primarily about consumption. We are, of course, proud members of the You Run Podcast Network. You can find all of our previous episodes, all of our upcoming episodes, and all the other fantastic shows on the You Run Podcast Network at yourunpodcast.com. With me this week is the host of the Dewey Pod Monster Podcast, and his name is Sean. Sean, how are you doing this wonderful September summer day?
John?
On a mountain of skulls in the castle of pain, I sat on a throne of blood.
And now I can't get my pants clean.
Named after a hot dog. What a poor guy. I screwed up the quote, but we spent all of like 2 weeks looking for another hot dog quote, and here it is. We found one in this movie today, but we're not talking about that yet. Before we get to the hot dogs and all things hot dog related, Sean, what have you been watching on your pile of skulls and blood or whatever you're sitting on?
Yeah, throne of blood, man.
It seemed like it would be very structurally sound.
I know, it seems like the shittiest place you could actually sit, other than a toilet, maybe. So, John, you know, I like to give you choices in life, choices in pain, death, whatever. I got 3 things. Give me A, B, C. Which one do you want first? I want to make this interactive.
CAB.
Okay, you'll have to remind me once I get to after this one. So, first off, I wanted to talk about a movie that I watched called The Sicilian. And this movie is from 1987. It's directed by Michael Cimino. You may know him as the director
of course it is.
Deer Hunter. Do you know Michael Cimino?
No, it sounds like a very Italian name. So
okay, well, he directed Deer Hunter.
I have seen the Deer Hunter like forever ago, but anyway.
And he directed Heaven's Gate, which was like a movie known for being not Italian, but known for being this huge, like over budget, overwrought whole kind of thing, right? It's a whole thing. So this is a 1987 movie. It's based on a Mario Puzo novel, who he wrote The Godfather and all that stuff. Christopher Lambert, okay, a Frenchman, plays an Italian named Salvatore Giuliano. Giuliano, who you hear his name like 500 gazillion times. If you did a drinking game, every time you heard Giuliano said in this movie, you would fall over drunk within the first hour, and it's a 2-hour movie. So he was a real person, and he's a real person, but he's like the Sicilian Robin Hood, I guess. That's like the best way I could put him. He was a bandit who would steal from the rich and give to the poor kind of thing. And the movie's about his girlfriend's brother is this aspiring politician who wants to give all this land that is owned by the Prince of Sicily, I guess. He wants to give it to the poor people that live in Sicily, like around. And like I said, Giuliano, who you'll hear his name at least 500 times. Early in the movie, he's shot in the stomach and he's on the verge of death, and these monks take him in and they like nurse him back to health. And because he gets nursed back to health, he feels like he is invincible. He gets in trouble with the Don, and the Don has this like love-hate relationship with him, the Mafia Don. And not Don DeLuise, that's Dom actually, not Don Knotts or Donald Duck.
Can I stop you first?
Yeah, please.
I
love it when you stop me.
What's the time frame? Like, I know you do. He said begrudgingly. When does this movie take place?
It's like the 20s, 1920s, 30s.
Okay. Did they have a prince in Italy in 1920s, or
I don't think
something
Italy was actually a combined country. They were still kind of states. Actually, up until recently, like within the last 100 years, I think they were still like individual states. They acknowledged themselves as being Italy, I think, but they still did like local rulers and stuff. They might not have had a lot of power, the prince, right? But so
guess I don't know my Italian history.
Now I'm losing his name. Yeah, nope, you don't know your Italian history. It's true. So the Don considers him kind of like the son he never had, although they've never really met. He just hears all these stories about Giuliano, and he's like, oh man, this guy's so fucking cool. I wish I knew him. He's a cool guy, and blah, blah, blah. And Lambert in this movie, he does these more outlandish stunts to try and like become popular with the people. And he starts to have aspirations of being a politician himself, but he gets himself in more and more trouble with the Don every time he does this, because the Don will like bail him out of these situations. He he frees these local bandits. They start to fight. Giuliano does, and they start to fight for him. And it's all going really good with the Don until it's not, and he kind of double crosses him a little bit. And it's a good movie, I guess. It's very long. It's at times slow, and it's one of those like artsy fartsy kind of movies. So I don't know.
You know, it's quality when you say it's a good movie, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like back and forth on it because it's one of those movies that I thought was okay, but I don't really know if I could recommend it to a lot of people. You have to kind of be in the, I'm going to watch a 2-hour movie about a French guy playing an Italian guy. And I have to kind of
specific.
Yeah, I have to kind of concentrate. I mean, I like Christopher Lambert personally, but he can be kind of take or leave, right? So that's The Sicilian. The next movie, you said CAB, right? Cab.
Yes.
The next movie, I'm going to go with number 1 in my list here that I wrote down. I watched a movie called Salvador, and it stars James Woods, and it's directed by Oliver Stone. It's the first, not the first movie, it's the movie that Oliver Stone made right before Platoon. And James Woods plays a photojournalist he's not a real person in the movie, like it's not a real guy, but he's playing based on a real guy kind of thing. And Jim Belushi is his sidekick who plays a radio DJ. He's actually based on a real guy, Dr. Rock in San Francisco, I think. And they go down to El Salvador. They drive from San Francisco to El Salvador looking to make some money to like document the uprising of this major in the army who's trying to overthrow the government. And it's really gritty and really kind of, it's good. And it's got funny moments, but it's very gritty and can be very depressing because there's a lot of footage, not real people, but a lot of this war goes on in El Salvador, and all these like innocent civilians are murdered, and they're like just in, mass graves and all this stuff. And he's going to these places because he's taking pictures. And the whole time, like Jim Belushi, Dr. Rock is getting just real fucked up on every drug he can get his hand on, like in El Salvador. So it's a really entertaining, like I said, really entertaining, really gritty movie. If you like irreverent but serious movies at the same time, it would be a really big recommend from me. And again, all this stuff will be in the show notes, which we mention all the time, but I'm going to try and find links to all these movies that you can watch for free. Last thing I'll talk about is the B movie. It's not an actual B movie, but it comes B on my list, is a movie called Parallax View. And it's a 1974 movie. It stars Warren Beatty, and you might find a theme here. So he plays a reporter. Okay. So kind of similar to Salvador, but he plays a reporter who's investigating an assassination on a US senator. And as he's like investigating this, people around him start disappearing, and they start getting one person, like a woman that comes to talk to him, gets killed. But as he starts getting deeper and deeper into this conspiracy of this assassination, he comes across this company called the Parallax Corporation, which what they do is they recruit and they brainwash people to become assassins. And that's like what their thing is. So just when he thinks he's getting to the bottom of everything, it gets even deeper, and he gets so deep into it, he just can't get out of this thing. So he's like trying to investigate what actually, like who's at the bottom of all this assassination and these other things. Like a senator gets assassinated, a U.S. presidential candidate gets assassinated, and he gets so far in that he just can't get out. Like he gets really embroiled in this thing. And it's one of those movies where like I enjoyed it, but it seems so disjointed that I had a hard time following it. Like I knew what was going on the entire time. I totally understood what was going on, but my brain kept saying like, what the fuck am I watching? Because there were just these little strings that were holding it together. It was, like I said, hard to follow, but I actually really enjoyed it. And again, kind of like The Sicilian, a lot of these movies, 2 of these movies this month are like, if you're into this kind of like, I don't want to say mind bending because that makes it seem too like more grandiose than it is. But if you're into watching a movie where it's like, I don't really know what the fuck's going on, but I kind of like what's going on at the same time, I would say Parallax View is a movie that I would recommend.
That's half the movies we talk about for this show.
Yeah, but I would recommend. So if I had to recommend the movies in order of what I watched for this episode, I would say Salvador would be on the top, Parallax View would be in the middle, and The Sicilian would be on the bottom. I guess that's the easiest way to put it. So what about you, John?
Well,
what have you been watching this week?
I didn't have as much that I watched this week. I only really had 2 things. I will say, and I brought this show up before, I did listen to episode 187 of Disgraceland, which features Motorhead and more specifically Lemmy. I'm a big Motorhead fan, and I think Lemmy is a god. So if you're going to check out an episode of Disgraceland, that's a good one to go back to. I don't know if I just said it, but in case I didn't, it's episode 187. It just came out like maybe a week or 2 ago. And if I did, you can just make me sound dumb for repeating myself. On the watching side, though, so I started with a documentary about my favorite mass murderer, Jason Voorhees. It's on Tubi. It's called His Name is Jason. And I think I might have seen this before, like as I was watching it, or it's just like, so this one is hosted by Tom Savini, which I didn't know that until he came wandering into set. And it's basically like a bunch of stuff that I've seen before. It's clipped together with Tom Savini doing like, and I say this because it's Tom Savini doing it, half-assed effects by his standards, while also being like, by the way, Jason was in 11 of these 12 movies. If you didn't know that, hardy har har, and all this. It goes back and forth with that. It's okay, but I guess the selling point would be that it's only like an hour and a half long. The one, if you really want a good Jason or Friday the 13th documentary, Camp Crystal Lake Memories, it's like a 7-8 hour documentary.
Is that the Corey Feldman one?
On the Friday. He's in it, but it's got like everyone.
I thought there's one that he narrates.
He narrates big parts of it. I haven't watched it in a while. I talked about it on the show like way back.
Yeah.
I don't remember when now, but it's definitely the better and more like that one's got so much more like from the cast. Tom's still in there if you like Tom Savini. It just goes so much more in depth and it breaks it down in a better way because it goes movie by movie as opposed to kind of jumping all over the timeline, which it's kind of a weird way to do that kind of documentary, I guess. But I mean, it's all right. It's got some highlights. It's got Shelley in it. I like Shelley. You like Shelley. He's the champion of this show.
Shelley.
So it's got that. Yeah, it's got that going for it. Doesn't really add anything that like you're with all due respect, you're kind of a novice Friday the 13th fan. Like admitted, there's a bunch of them you haven't seen.
Right.
Whatever. I don't think there would be anything in this documentary really that you would be surprised by other than like maybe scenes that you haven't watched yet because we haven't gotten to that Friday yet. So it's okay, but it's free because it's on Tubi. So it's got that. The other thing I thought was funny is when Kane Hodder shows up, he's Kane Hodder and he looks like Kane Hodder, except he's got a giant ICP Hatchet Man necklace on through the entirety of this documentary.
Okay.
For whatever reason. I don't know if he considers himself to be a juggalo or like a king juggalo or alpha juggalo, maybe. But I think it's funny that he's wearing it through the entirety of this. Like whenever he's being interviewed, he's got his trademark gloves on and his giant fucking ICP necklace.
I thought you were going to say Tom Savini's. You didn't know Tom Savini was in it until he kind of just like stumbles on the set like, oh, what the fuck's going on here? We're making a movie. And then Kane Hodder was going to do the same thing.
No, I don't think you see him outside of like when he's talking about something on set, like when he's being interviewed, I don't think you see him stand up at all. So just Tom.
They didn't have a tall enough tripod to get him in the entire shot. So like, don't stand.
Wearing a very like early 2000s ill-fitting suit that's like, I know you have the money for a better looking suit.
Who's wearing a suit?
Tom Savini.
Oh, I thought you meant Kane Hodder was wearing a suit. Andy had the the Axeman, Hatchet Man.
I mean, that would be a cool look.
Yeah.
That would be a cool. No, he's got like a turtleneck and like either a charcoal gray or black suit, something like that on.
Weird.
And it is very ill-fitting for sure. What was probably more entertaining, it definitely took up more time, was the new Charlie Sheen documentary that is on Netflix right now. It's called AKA Charlie Sheen. I don't know if this is on your to-watch list or not, but I'm going to talk about it either way, so deal with it. It's pretty much exactly what you expect. It's about 3-4 hours long or so, like between 2 episodes. The first half of it basically goes all the way up to essentially what's that fucking show he was on?
Spin City.
No, after
2.5 Men.
That one. It basically goes up to 2.5 Men and when he went off the deep end again. It talks about his early life, his career and stuff like that. And it's kind of like I said, I'm Charlie Sheen. I'm a good looking dude. I get, I stumble into this movie. I do good. I do a lot of drugs, have a lot of sex. I fall to the bottom, rinse, repeat. That's basically what most of it is. The things that really stuck out for it, though, there's a point where he's probably like early 20s and he's talking about his first intervention, and they frame it around his dad's birthday. So he tells the story like not knowing that he's about to get an intervention. I think it was his parents' house where he went. So he goes to his parents' house, he opens the door, and he's like, I look around and you immediately know what's happening. He's like, I see, my brothers and my dad and my mom and my all these people. What sold it? He goes, and then I look in the middle of the room and there's this guy named Jim, and he starts telling me that I have to go to rehab. I'm like, I don't know why, but the idea of some random guy named Jim sitting in the middle of all these like hyper famous people, because really like between Charlie Sheen, Emilio Estevez, and Martin Sheen, that's some pretty good star power in one room, right? And then there's some guy named Jim who's like, so Charlie, we're gonna take the drugs away and we're gonna do whatever. And
was Joe Estevez there?
They don't show him. Because there's 3 of them.
I'm kidding.
Or there's 4 of them. There's Emilio, there's Charlie, and there's I think like Roger or something with an R, something like that. He's in it a lot. Emilio and Martin Sheen aren't participants in the documentary at all. Like you see them a little bit in clips here and there, but they're not. They don't talk to them.
Yeah, they're not interviewed for the show or for the docuseries.
Right. I mean, I won't ruin it because it's pretty new, so I don't know who's watched it and who hasn't. I mean, I watched it pretty quick just because I was like, yeah, okay, I got nothing to do. This seems like a time killer. The only other thing I would say is by the end of it, because I watched both episodes back to back, man, I was ready for it to be fucking over. Like, it's really, when they give you that break between episode 1 and 2, I would strongly recommend, like, maybe pause it and come back to it the next day. You might feel a little less exhausted by the whole ordeal. But yeah, doing them back to back, just, again, it's not radically different from episode 1 to 2. Yes, the stories are a little bit different. There's some other crazy shit that he tells you about, and it's all, like, drug and sex stories. That's like all this is, with the occasional like, I was on Ferris Bueller's Day Off, or he doesn't even really talk about like Major League and what was it, The Chase, and like he glosses over basically post Ferris Bueller all the way up to 2.5 Men, just by being like, I was doing all these movies and blah blah blah, and then I did all these drugs. And he doesn't really talk about a specific movie till he talks about, I don't even remember what movie it is, but it's the first time he's like, oh, I got called out because I was too high on set, so I asked the director for a bucket of ice, and I went into the bathroom and I shoved an ice cube up my ass and then went and did the scene. It woke me right up. And they cut to the scene he's referring to, and they're like, there's an ice cube in my ass in this scene. I'm like, well, that's cute, but that's kind of it. That's all it is. It's just drug stories and sex stories. And holy shit, that man found his way to a lot of really gorgeous women in his time. I'll give him credit for that.
You should do drugs too, kid. You can have gorgeous women. Damn it.
I mean, they'll be gorgeous in the moment, probably.
Yeah.
You won't care. But yeah, that's all I got. So I think that's as good a spot as any to kind of take a quick break. We're going to tell you about another great show on the You Run Podcast Network, and we will come back and talk about more busting that makes us feel good. That's it. That's all we got. We're going to be back in a minute.
Hey folks, AI John here. If horror is the name of the game, Will and JT from the Deadbeats podcast have just what you're looking for. Each week, they dive into horror in its many forms, be it movies, books, TV shows, or even urban legends. Whether you're a die-hard horror buff or just enjoy a good laugh with your frights, this podcast promises both spooky insights and genuine camaraderie. You can find the Deadbeats podcast and many other fine shows at yourunpodcast.com.
All right, so we're back. Bobby Brown is with us, and we are going to be talking about the movie Ghostbusters 2. This movie is my fault, so I apologize in advance. But we're going to start with a third-party review, and this third-party review is on Rotten Tomatoes, and it comes from Marcio. And Marcio says, it's fine, but why rate it on Rotten Tomatoes? Question mark, question mark, question mark. 2.5 out of 5 stars.
Why rate it on Rotten Tomatoes? I agree. As long as we're not rating things, Sean, do you want to take a second and tell us what Ghostbusters 2 is about? Yeah, so for that, I go over to imdb.com and I type in the word Ghostbusters and then the number 2, actually 2 I's after it, and it pulls up this movie. And I'm assuming this is the one that we're supposed to talk about today. It was released in 1989. It got a PG rating. It is 1 hour and 48 minutes long. It gets a 6.6 out of 10 with 236,000 ratings. And it's at 2484 on the popularity scale, which I think is up 1331 out of some number, but I really don't know how to read numbers. So we're going to go to the storyline of the plot. I don't know which one it is, but they wouldn't put it on top if it wasn't supposed to be read first. It says, the discovery of a massive river of ectoplasm and a resurgence of spectral activity allows the staff of Ghostbusters to revive the business. I love it. Short and to the point. Totally makes sense. We go down to the storyline. This comes care of Nick Reganis. Thank you again, Nick, for sending this one into the show. It says, having lost their status and credibility 5 years after covering New York City with gooey roasted marshmallows in Ghostbusters, the city's former heroes and once popular spirit hunters struggle to keep afloat, forced to work odd jobs. However, when Dana and her baby have yet another terrifying encounter with the paranormal, it's up to Peter Venkman and his fearless team of supernatural crime fighters to step up and save the day. Once more, humankind is in danger as rivers of slimy, psycho-reactive ectoplasm paired with the dreadful manifestation of evil 16th century tyrant Vigo the Carpathian threaten to plunge the city into darkness. Is the world ready to believe? Can the Ghostbusters save us for the second time? Question mark.
So before we get into cast, you want me to do a quick Cliff Notes? Because my Cliff Notes are like super to the point on this one.
I mean, Nick Rianis did just give us Cliff Notes, but please tell us your Cliff Notes.
My Cliff Notes are quite simply, the Ghostbusters are back and eventually they get back to busting ghosts, but now with 100% more baby. That's it.
4 Ghostbusters and a baby. That's
4
my
Ghostbusters and a baby.
That's my synopsis.
Who's in this movie, Sean?
Yeah, so there's a lot of people in this movie. We've got pretty much everybody that was in Ghostbusters. We've got, and I'm going to read all these names and I'm not going to say what they're known for, because if you don't know who these people are, you need to turn this podcast off and go watch a movie. But we've got Bill Murray as Peter Venkman. We've got Dan Aykroyd as Ray Stantz, Sigourney Weaver as Dana Barrett. We've got Harold Ramis as Egon Spengler, Rick Moranis as Louis Tully. We've got Ernie Hudson as Winston Zeddemore, Annie Potts as Janine Melnitz, and the last person I'll mention is Peter McNichol. He plays Janos Poha, and he, I will say, you may know him from Ally McBeal. That's his biggest, like, he's one of those guys, when you look at his IMDb, when you look at an IMDb for a person that's been in movies, usually they have like 4 things they're known for. He had like 2 things. Mm-hmm. And I have seen him in several things because he's been in several movies and TV shows and whatnot, but I think he's probably best known for this and Ally McBeal.
I think he, surprisingly, has the 2 best lines in this movie, even though he's very arguably the most annoying character in this movie, but we'll come back around to that. I'm assuming this isn't a first-time watch for you?
No, I actually remember, I very vividly remember where I saw the poster for this movie before it had come out, and I was like, oh my God, they made another one of these, because it came out at a time, 1989, I was 12 when this came out, so this was one of those things where Ghostbusters came out. It was in 1984, and 5 years had gone by, and then they're like, oh my God, another one's coming out. It just felt like a lifetime. But when you're young, 5 years feels like a lifetime when it was 5 years. So yeah, I very vividly remember the poster. I remember seeing it in the theater maybe twice, and I've seen it like several times, but it's been quite a long time since I've seen it the last time, frankly, because I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, well, we're going to get to that too. So for me, this was huge, like, oh yeah, we are. This was a big movie for me, like as a kid, because I was a huge Ghostbusters fan from the original movie. When this movie came out, like this movie was inescapable. This was like, I mean, this came out against Batman and you couldn't escape either one of them. Like Batman and Ghostbusters like took over everything for that year. But I was always more of a Ghostbusters fan. I even liked the cartoon as a kid. So, I mean, I have a soft spot for it. And I think that's why whenever I think about this movie, I tend to think like, oh yeah, I love that movie. And then I watch it, I'm like, there's issues. So before we get into those issues, so do you want to lead us off with some of the things that you do like about this movie?
Well, I mean, you mentioned Ghostbusters and you mentioned Batman. And I also want to say that Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was out like right around the same time this movie came out. I think when Harry Met Sally. Back to the Future 2
come out this year?
I mean, within weeks. Dead Poet Society, all these movies in 1989, where it was a huge year. And Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade came out maybe a couple weeks before this. So it was like a packed year of movies. So this came out like it was just a maelstrom of all these different like classic movies. Like all those movies that I mentioned are probably a lot of people consider classics still.
And I think this came out the same night as Batman.
Batman was a week after.
Was a week after? Okay. So that explains what I know. One of the things I was watching getting ready for this, they basically said Batman killed this movie in so many words. And this still made $200 million. It was like $230 million. And I know the first one made like 300 and some odd million dollars. So it's still pretty, like, I know that's less than, the first movie, but most sequels don't do as much as their initial. And I think the budget for this was around 40. So you still did pretty fucking good.
Yeah. But it was a disappointment for the studio. They expected a lot more, but yeah.
Well, and I would be willing to bet if you didn't come out like that close to Batman, you probably would have got a lot more. Like even if there was another week there to kind of buffer it a little bit, but
yeah. And I read that they said that this actually made a lot more money worldwide than the first one did. Like it's one of the few movies like at the time that made so much more than its predecessor. I think it made 100 million overseas because I think it made like the 115 or something in the US. Crazy.
How about so again, do we have anything positive to say about this one? Because I do think there are some good things about this, but how about you? Do you have things that you like about it?
Yeah, I have.
Or do you want me to just start?
No, I think there's a few redeeming qualities. Like I do like that while the movie came out 5 years after the original, they set the movie to be 5 years after. And it was when I watched it for this episode, it was kind of a surprise to me because I didn't remember it kind of starting off so abruptly like 5 years later. And Dana's pushing the pram or the baby carriage down the road. And I was like, wait, what? I had to like look it up to make sure I was watching a version of the movie that wasn't edited some weird way, because, when you like search for shit for free on the internet, like I do a lot, there is a lot of weird things that you can come across where they try to like edit it weirdly to get around copyright or whatever.
Ghostbusters 2 Machete Cup.
Yeah, I actually when I was looking for the version to put on YouTube on the description, so people could watch it for free. Somebody on YouTube had posted it, but they just did the same scene looping, like restarting every time. So I wanted to make sure my Ghostbusters version wasn't just a 5-minute loop for an hour and 40 minutes or whatever. So I was really surprised that it started 5 years later. And I really like the fact that they set it up to where it is 5 years later, like almost real time with when the movie comes out. And the Ghostbusters are like all we've said, they're not washed up, but the city's just kind of thrown them away and they're forgotten. And they're doing like kids parties and the other guys, Ray's back working at his bookstore and Egon's in the lab doing stuff. And Peter Venkman, they have the backstory of what they've been doing. He's hosting a psychic TV show in New York, like a public access kind of show. It was funny to me that they started it off that way. And I'm like, that's a really cool way to start this movie, to not pretend like no time has passed. But obviously everybody's got 5 years under their belt and they played it up to that kind of thing. And the whole movie for me, like I'm just waiting for them to start busting so I can feel good. And when they break out the proton packs, when they break out all the equipment, I just thought it was a really cool like moment for them to almost like they're rediscovering that they have some kind of like use in the world, that the city still needs them. They still want to see how they're going to react and how they're going to save the day. I mean, I have a few other likes, but what are some of the likes that you have?
So I'm going to go piggyback right onto the scene you're talking about when they first turn on the proton packs and start busting to feel good again. One of my favorite things in this movie, although this is a recurring theme from the last movie that Winston kind of is the like odd man out more often than not. I think it's funny as hell that although Winston is in the courtroom, he's talking to them before the ghosts show up in the courtroom. You see him sitting behind them. And as soon as the ghosts show up and they're ready to go fight the ghosts, Winston is the fuck out of there, nowhere to be seen. You don't see him like get ghosted away or nothing. He just like he wasn't on call for that day or something. So I noticed it this time, and I think it's bad, but because again, Winston is the guy that like, you could have fixed a lot of things that you did wrong with him in this movie, or in the last movie with this one, which I don't feel like they did. But I do think it's funny that he just up and fucking disappears like as soon as the ghosts show back up. So that's a nice little, like I said, it's funny. I don't know if it's supposed to be a mistake or it's supposed to be just the three guys getting their, doing their so got their groove back thing or what, but made me laugh this time. Giannis, for the most part, I don't like the character, but he's got two lines that just make me laugh my ass off because of what kind of character he is. There's a line right at the beginning when we first meet him where he's walking through this art exhibit and he looks right over at a woman. He goes, "Everything you're doing is bad. I want you to know this," and just keeps walking like this arrogant, pompous prick, which that made me chuckle. And there's another line where he gets bukkakied at the end and like gets, gooed over and wakes up 5-10 minutes later and is like, "Well, I am all covered in goo," which is a good, I feel like I would wake up with a similar expression. We've said this before about movies that take place in cities like New York, and this is a little bit cleaner of a New York than what we usually say it's about, but I like how the city looks in this movie. And it goes through a couple different phases. Like when shit starts getting out of hand, it looks a little bit more like New York, maybe 5 to 10 years earlier, like specifically when they're running out of the movie theater and stuff's going nuts. But there's just something, this New York feels very active and alive and lived in, and it looks good for this movie. It feels like New York, unlike a lot of movies where they're saying it's New York, but it's really Vancouver or something, and they're just like
Toronto
dressing it up to look that way.
Yeah,
wherever they're doing it. So I like that with it for sure. And I really like Egon in this movie. Like, I liked Egon in the first movie, but I think he's funnier in this movie. He's a little bit more reserved at times, but he's a little bit more sadistic at times too. Like, I love the experiment he's doing where he's just increasing the heat on this like family while they're arguing. I don't know what he's trying to achieve with it. And then he just is like, "Go take the puppy away." Just like he's just taking all the joy away from these people just to see how they're going to respond, I guess. I don't know. Again, what's the end goal? We don't know, but it's a pretty funny experience. I would be down for a whole movie of Egon fucking with people.
It's
like
kind of, that whole scene is kind of, it actually ties into the movie a little bit, because what he's doing is he's like studying the effects on environmental changes on not psychic, but like spectral, whatever, like your mood can put on material around you. And that's kind of like the whole ooze thing at the same time. I don't know. It kind of draws off how you're reacting inside of it. For me, like, the Janosz part, I actually think Janosz is one of probably the better characters in this movie. Is he a weasel? Yeah, absolutely. Would I want to like pile drive that guy through a glass table? Yes, absolutely. But at the same time, because these characters are so, I don't know, they're like watered down from the first movie a little bit, he kind of adds that little pep in the step that they, to add back into it. Like, if you think of from the first movie, Rick Moranis' character, Louis Tully, like, he turns into the keymaster or whatever. And
yeah,
in this, he's like, Janosz is that character kind of, because yeah, Louis is a nerd and he's acting nerdy and stuff, and he's with Janine. So they kind of have that whole like relationship going. So those two are almost taken out of the equation from the first movie. And now we have this weird character with Janosz and Vigo. So I kind of liked his kind of the way that he fits in the movie. I thought he had a good kind of place to it. And the other thing, like for me, a seriously and genuinely kind of fucked up scene in the movie that never has any explanation is when they are in the train tunnel and they see that first head on a spike. And then all of a sudden they're like surrounded by them and they're freaking out, and then they just disappear. And there's like no explanation. There's no further information about it. It's just on the screen. It pops on the screen. It's probably one of the genuine like jump scares in both of these movies. And then the train comes, and then they never mention it again. Like it never.
Do you know what they were supposed to do in the sewer scene in that part?
I'm sure that there was probably several things that were supposed to happen, but I don't know what didn't make it.
There was supposed to be a giant mutant frog thing that they fight, and it looked almost exactly like the brain from the titular movie The Brain. And I don't remember if they ever finished filming it, or I've seen like a mock-up of the thing they were going to fight, like they actually built it, but I don't know if they ever shot it or if they shot it and cut it out or whatever. I mean, there's a million extras for this movie on Blu-ray and all that type of stuff. I just never taken the time to watch them. I like Louis and Janine's relationship in this. I like that they tried to give them something more than just being the two extras that are around the fire station or whatever. I actually think it would have been cool to see them develop that out a little bit more, because to be honest, like it takes about 45 minutes before they get to doing any ghost busting in this movie, which, I mean, it's not terrible. Like, you have strong actors that are carrying the movie and telling the story, so it does move along like at a decent enough pace. But if you're going to take 45 minutes out of an hour and 45-minute movie called Ghostbusters to not be ghost busting, I mean, I'd be okay with you, like, I'd be okay with you, you know, exploring this relationship a little bit more, because those two, maybe this, I like Andy Potts, at least as this character, and Rick Moranis he's a good actor. You can say what you want about him. I respect the guy for walking away from Hollywood when he did and why he did. I think that's admirable, to say the least. And honestly, not something that I think most actors would do. But them together in this, they have a fun little chemistry and a weird like relationship that I wouldn't have been opposed to seeing more of in this movie. So that's another thing that's a positive. But this is kind of where we're going to pivot into like likes or from likes to dislikes, because it's hard to deny that this feels like a very watered down, like these guys were there for the paycheck, didn't really give a shit about this movie, because there's so many things, like, although I do think I still like this movie, it's kind of beat for beat the same thing as the first one. Like, they is very similar. No one believes them. I would have also, if we're going to spend 45 minutes not busting ghosts to start the movie, maybe you can explain to us why no one believes that this giant marshmallow man came and like destroyed part of the city and they saved them. Like, 5 years isn't that long, right? Like,
yeah. Especially in the 80s. Like nowadays, 5 years ago, that whatever happened to those guys, you know, they'd be having.
Well, the news cycle now is a little different about them. But
but then it was like, oh man, those guys, that just seems like it just happened. You know, there wasn't as much news and other things going on that you'd instantly forget about these guys that saved your city, essentially. Right.
Save the biggest city in the world, and you're reduced to bookstore, birthday parties, and so on. It seems a little weird to me, but yeah, I mean, it's beat for beat. Like, they have to establish themselves as Ghostbusters. They have a big event in the middle of the movie to be like, okay, now we're Ghostbusters proper. At some point, laws no longer apply to them. Then the laws all of a sudden do apply to them. They get arrested. The mayor fires the dipshit, gets them out, and then they go have the third act. I mean, it's the exact same beats as the first movie.
And the third act includes a huge set piece, that does something in the movie. Yeah, it is very paint by number kind of feel from the first movie. And this is like one of those movies that have so well known for, like you mentioned, do you know what was supposed to happen in that scene? They were supposed to fight this thing. This is like the movie that it seems like you said, they had so many extras for this, so many scenes shot, so many, like, it seems like they went, at least from reading, they went through so many different script varieties and they couldn't decide, you know, what they wanted to do. And it's one of those movies that the first movie this was not supposed to be a series. So when it was never written to be that way, they wanted it to be a one-off, and then it
blew up.
Yeah. And you can tell. And then, I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know where to go. Like, with that, it's just, you can tell it wasn't supposed to be a series of movies. And then they just didn't have it. It was a victim of its own success. You know, the first movie did so well. It was like the biggest money-making comedy of all time. Well, not of all time at the time. I don't know if it's been surpassed. Yeah. I'm sure it has.
I'm sure it has.
Yeah. But at the time it was like, and that's Bill Murray didn't act for 5 years. He was like, why, you know, I've already done this. Besides the fact that the studio had hated him, but you know, I've already done this. Like, why would I do this? It took till Scrooge for him to even come back. So that should tell you a lot about, you know, this movie and trying to get it off the ground for so long because the studio really needed them to do it.
I think the other thing where this movie really misses the mark, you know, the original came out in 1984 and it's a pre-PG-13 movie. So it's PG, but it's like, it's got a lot of adult humor in there and it's extremely well written because a lot of the adult humor I didn't get till I was, you know, the age where I was supposed to get it. Like you could watch it as a kid and you know, you'd have no idea why Ray's getting what's going on when Ray gets a blowjob. You know, none of that shit.
Ray gets a blowjob?
Exactly. And it's not like they need to do this specific, like the Ghostbusters smoke, the Ghostbusters drink, the Ghostbusters swear a little bit. That actually kind of makes it a movie about old white guys running around New York fighting ghosts. It somehow makes it feel more grounded because it feels like they're giving genuine reactions. This movie comes out after the cartoon, which was probably bigger than the movie in a lot of ways. It comes out with a PG in the PG-13 era. So it's a very, very, I mean, there's nothing aside from maybe some like ghosts and stuff. Like, I don't think there's anything in this. Like, you could probably get away with calling this a G-rated movie. Am I far off on that?
Yeah, you might have to cut some stuff, sanitize some stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty innocuous as far as like a PG movie goes. Yeah.
Taking all that out, like, and again, maybe this was this time, the humor just doesn't land as well. Like, again, it's got those handful of things, and oddly, most of them kind of pivot around Janusz being so fucking flaky and you wanting to like kick his ass. But the really well crafted, well written jokes that are delivered by really your three leads from the first movie, they just they're there, but they don't land as well. And they don't feel like they have the same like intent behind them. They feel like they're just polished up and like doing a live action version of the cartoon show.
And I think with them having the cartoon show and it being, like you said, so popular, Slimer became like it's Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters. That's the cartoon. So it's like they had to not pigeonhole. They had to like force Slimer in there. And I think the most risque thing we see is Sigourney Weaver in her bra, like in a scene. You know, it's like, oh, that's scandalous, like for the scene. And because they had so many kids that were now paying attention because of the cartoon, because of the original movie that maybe their parents showed them, whatever, I think they tried to go too far family friendly, and that kind of alienated some of the people who had grown up with this show. Like at 12 years old, I think I was still watching cartoons. I watched The Real Ghostbusters. It was a show I watched all the time. You know, I love that cartoon show. But then by the time the movie comes out,
I've rewatched it. It's still good.
I hope that they had moved on, you know, onto something that grew with me, and they didn't. They actually went the other way. I think that when we talked about Ghostbusters originally, I said like, oh, I showed my daughter at the time. She was like 5, and which was probably way too early because I hadn't rewatched it at the time, and it freaked her the fuck out. And thinking back on it now, like we probably could have watched this one, and this would have been the one to watch, you know, because it is so geared towards a younger audience as opposed to the original, which was also a PG, but felt so much more, like you said, had the adult humor that kids didn't really notice that it was adult humor. They were just laughing because their parents were laughing. And this one is like, we're all going to try and laugh together. It's like, not all that much that's all that funny about it.
At the end of the day, a lot of these it's my initial complaint is relying on the original story beats, and it just feels like it's going through the motions, and you say, okay, I've got more Ghostbusters now. And functionally, it still works as a movie. I don't feel like I waste an hour and 45 minutes or whatever this is when I watch it, because I still enjoy watching these 4 guys run around in their, you know, jumpsuits with their nuclear accelerators on their back doing stupid things. It's entertaining, but I'm realizing on this watch, especially because I haven't watched this one in at least 5 years, like this one in particular. The first one I watch every year because I like that one a lot more. But I think most of why I think I'm still okay with this movie, it's just pure nostalgia because I grew up watching it. I grew up like having it like on VHS where, you watch one and you're a kid. What are you going to do? You pop in the other one. It's right there. Like that's kind of how a lot of us grew up. It's kind of a bummer when you go back and find something you're like, oh yeah, I really love that movie. And you're watching, you're like,
this kind of sucks.
Why do I love this? Yeah.
What's wrong with me?
Like, it's not, I don't want to go as far to say it sucks, but it's definitely not that good.
Yeah. So, no, I don't mean it sucks, but you go back and you watch it and like, man, I must have been really stupid because this isn't great. Like, but I loved it.
Right. So I don't know how I'm going to really like rebound past that. I don't know. Do you have a lot or anything you want to add at this point?
Yeah,
I feel
absolutely.
Like we hit the main points.
I really like, I never liked it when I saw it initially. The first time I have a specific thing, not the movie in general. I hate.
Sean's got his slam notes. So.
Yeah, I hate the slime. Like I thought that was the stupidest thing when I saw it. I think it's stupid now. Like now watching it, I will never be able to listen to that song, Lifting Me Higher or whatever, that song that they play, like to kind of get the slime dancing. Oh, that's so fucking cool. I cannot listen to that song without like, man, that reminds me of that really stupid fucking thing about the slime in Ghostbusters 2. The idea that the slime is affected by all the negative energy in the city and, oh man, all the people in New York, what a bunch of assholes they are. And that's why the slime's taken over. But then.
Sure doesn't take long to change its fucking mind, does it?
Yeah. And it makes me almost more angry that they can make it go the other way. Oh, we have positive slime because we gave it reinforcement. Oh, you're such a good slimy. I love how slimy you are. You're the slimiest. Like you just got to talk to it nice, play it some Lifting Me Higher by whoever that is that sings that song and the different crappy version that they played in this movie. And then, oh, we can spray the Statue of Liberty. Like the whole concept.
That's another thing too. They spray down. Okay. You mentioned, I wrote this down and I forgot to bring it up. They spray down the Statue of Liberty in like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Like,
and they still have these tiny little tanks that can spray other shit.
They have these like backpacks of like bukkake slime juice in them. And they still manage to go bukkake a couple people and walk their way into this, fucking museum and then jizz all over like the painting, jizz all over poor Giannis. Probably jizz on the on Dana while they're at it because they get excited, whatever. Like,
stop jizzing on that kid.
Is this slime like, yeah, exactly. Is this slime just like reproducing within the backpacks that they put it in or something? Because it doesn't seem like they've got more slime in these backpacks than Steven Seagal has bullets in his fucking, or Jean-Claude Van Damme has bullets in his fucking gun at the end of Hard Target. So
yeah, no, it's a lot. I have a major gripe that this movie's called Ghostbusters and they don't bust any ghosts until like, it's like 38 minutes or something into the movie. And there's
it's about 40.
The busting ghosts are like few and far between. It's called Ghostbusters. Mm-hmm. And the ghosts that they do show look pretty stupid. Like I hate the Scoleri brothers and them flying around. They just like greasy Muppets. They just like what this is. And again, reading all the things you can read about this movie and all the concepts and all the things they couldn't do and this, that, and the other, like the Titanic scene, the Titanic pulls up and all the dead Titanic passengers are getting off. That's kind of cool. That was a cool kind of thing, but those are more realistic because they're people basically that they, I don't know, did whatever they did to make them look ghostly. And the movie, like, I'm not going to, not that this movie like just came out, it's obviously like 40 years old or whatever, 30 some odd years old, but I do not like movies where the heroes don't actually do anything at the end to get rid of the bad guy. It's like, oh, the citizens got together and they sang Auld Lang Syne. What a great fucking finish. Can they like do something? Like, can they have some kind of input on what happens? They're supposed to be the heroes in this movie. And the last thing that I will talk about, because I don't know. Vigo fucking sucks. Vigo sucks so bad.
Yeah. Why is he so interested in this particular fucking kid? Like, why can't he just go? There's a lot of kids just wandering around New York.
Yeah, they're just crawling around the streets.
You can't go
5 feet without kicking a baby in New York.
Yeah, why? It seems like this is a bad plan on Vigo's part.
Yeah. He just looks dumb. That actor looks stupid. He doesn't look intimidating. You want to kick him, like you want to punch him in the face. He just has one of those faces. They had all these huge concepts. Again, you can read all about it. I'll link to the Wikipedia article, but you can read all these things that they wanted to do with Vigo and how they were going to make him look cool. And the actor was a fucking turd and he just couldn't do the stuff that they wanted him to do. They had to dub him with Max von Sydow to like make him be imposing. He's just a shit. He's just shit. And you know, he's just a crap character. I
do like when Bill Murray tries to paint a kitten onto his painting. I thought that's a pretty good little gag in there.
And there's the scene where the painting actually starts moving, and Industrial Light and Magic did the effects on this, which is ILM is like Skywalker Productions or whatever, before it became a Disney thing. And they just try to, he like bulges out of it. It's like they put a balloon behind it or whatever. It looks like crap. It just looks shitty. It's shitty looking. But yeah, those are my kind of gripes about the movie in general. I mean, I guess they're kind of specific. I guess they're a little specific. I don't really like a lot of the effect. I mean, the effects are fine, but those things in particular, Vigo specifically, and the slime, they're horrible. They're like a horrible villain for this movie.
I don't have any real argument against you. Like I can't. I like it. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things too. Like you mentioned, we both mentioned like how many things that could have been or should have been in this movie. Like there's a whole little like side quest where Ray gets possessed by Vigo and like tries to kill all of them while they're in the car or something like that, which explains why he becomes possessed randomly later in the movie and why he's possessed when he's like, I fucking Vigo in the like museum. There's a whole sequence that they just cut out altogether in the middle of the movie, which I don't know if that would have necessarily made it better, but at least it would have explained. I would have rather seen that than all the shit in the first 45 minutes where they don't go busting ghosts. And I mean, even the stuff that's in there, like there's a couple moderately funny things in the beginning of it, but you could have condensed that down to like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, we ready for the grill?
Yeah, let's do it.
Then you're in for a big treat, bro, because it's hot dog time.
So again, this is my fault. I'll throw my wiener on the grill first, and I
burn that wiener.
I think for me, this is going to be a half a hot dog because I still do have that nostalgic love for this movie or this franchise for whatever reason. But I'm finding out that much like the show Dexter this is apparently a franchise I just can't quit, because now that I'm talking about this movie and thinking about what came after this with the one with the chicks and then the two with the kids, I really only like the first movie. Like that's the only one that I really have a lot of like love for, but I keep going and watching them or giving them another chance. I haven't bought any of them other than the first two. So at least I have that going for me. So it's a half a hot dog. If you like the first one and you somehow haven't seen this, I mean, I guess give it a try, but go in with low expectations. But more accurately, if you have seen this and you're thinking like, do I need to rewatch it? Go watch the first one again. It's probably a better use of your time.
Whose hot dog is this, huh? Is it yours?
So I'll say, like, I know I've talked a lot of shit and I really spewed some vitriol about the slime and about Vigo, and I don't really like them, but I will say I don't think this movie is totally irredeemable. I think it's actually pretty well made. I think it's got a great cast. Like, you couldn't ask for a better comedic cast in a movie because it's got all these people that you know, if you watch the first movie, it's got all those same people. It's not like they got worse or anything at acting. It moves pretty well. Like they have these different storylines that actually kind of come together at the end. It just is kind of bland, and at the end of the day, I just have issues with the movie feeling just kind of like it just feels soulless. Like all the hard edges were totally just sanded away. The movie's tolerable, you know, like if I ever have to hear higher and higher, it'll be too soon. I will give this movie a nostalgia half a hot dog. Like I wouldn't give it a full hot dog, but I would tell you that if John hadn't suggested doing an episode on this movie, I probably would have never watched it again. And I probably will never watch this movie again because I just don't like it. I didn't like it when I saw it back in the day, and I probably saw it a few extra times because my friends we were at a sleepover watching it or whatever, and that's pretty much why I watched it then multiple times. This movie really like proved and killed my desire to ever see any kind of sequel for this story. Like I've never seen the whatever, the one with Kate McKinnon and the other people that are in it. I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know who's in it. And I have no desire to see, what is it? Afterlife and Frozen Empire.
Afterlife and
those Ghostbusters means nothing to me when it has all the other shit after it. First one for me, like, not trying to be like a edgelord or anything. I could not care less about Ghostbusters past the first movie. Half a hot dog just for nostalgia only, but I will probably never watch this movie again.
I will say Afterlife is basically, it's more of a love letter to Harold Ramis than it is a Ghostbusters movie with like Ghostbusters paint on it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're feeling like super nostalgic or like doughy about Harold Ramis, it's maybe worth that. And it might be a good one to watch with like kids because it's not that scary of a movie in any way. But it has, and this is from someone who, at least for the first movie, is like a massive Ghostbusters fan. It has absolutely zero rewatchability to it. Like I saw it in the theater. I saw the last two in the theater. I think I've seen the last three in the theater. I'm bad.
Have you seen some in the theater?
But yes, I have like absolutely zero. I have never even considered buying a physical copy of it. And you can get it pretty cheap now because it's been out forever and like no one cares. It doesn't fix the things that are problems. We'll put it that way. But
I think it's funny that I think it's just, sorry to interrupt you. I think it's funny that
no, you're good.
None of the movies have made as much as the first one. And they have just like, we're
Probably
talking
not combined.
Well, no, they have combined. Like
maybe combined.
Afterlife made $204 million, and that's of 21 money. And
yeah,
the 1984 money, it made $250 million. So they've never like reached that height again, and that was almost 40 years ago. Just weird.
Well, they also haven't made a good movie since then.
That's true.
So,
that's true.
Yeah.
Got to make a good movie to get some money.
I mean, debatable, but it probably
That's
helps.
true. I regretted it instantly after I said it.
So, speaking of regrettable things, we have a question of the week, and this week's question is, if you were a ghost, who would you decide to haunt first? There's several of your responses that I'm flat out not going to read because they went to gross and creepy spots, and we're just going to leave those on the internet where they belong. But over on Threads, we got a response from Scott, who is at You Run Podcast. He is the arbiter of the You Run Podcast Network, and he says quite simply, he's going to haunt his co-host Mark. I would start subtle by moving stuff around, then progress up to drinking his beers and banging stuff.
Oh,
I hope banging stuff is what I'm thinking. He says, I wouldn't scare him. More so, I would annoy him all the time.
I wouldn't scare him. I would just bang his stuff.
That's kind of how I read it, and I'm glad that I'm not the only one who did. I kind of prefer it that way, actually. Over on Instagram, the ones that we will read, they're kind of quick and to the point. Our friends over at Dissect That Film quite simply said, my mom. So Mr. Parker is going to haunt his mom, and I think that's funny. And then at Spuds McKenzie says, John Stamos. I don't know if you can haunt John Stamos, but I like the effort.
You think he's unhauntable? Well,
if he can fight Ragnar, he can't be afraid of no ghosts, right? So,
you never know. PTSD.
We'll have to make a sequel.
Yeah.
Never too old to die.
Never too old to be haunted.
Never too out of opportunities to go back to the well. And last and certainly not least, over on Blue Sky, our good friend Boomer over at Podcast in the Woods, you can follow them at Woods Podcast 1, says the easy answer is Barbara Crampton. The more appropriate and real answer is Rob Zombie. Kind of a ghost Christmas future kind of thing. This is what will happen if you make anything else like the Munsters. So here's where I'm going to disagree with you, Boomer. If you haunt a dipshit like Rob Zombie, he's probably going to make a shitty movie about it.
Yeah, that's true. He'll make like The Haunting, but his version of it.
Yeah. So how about you, Sean? If you had the opportunity to haunt someone and you don't steal Scott's answer and haunt your co-host, I mean, I guess you could.
What if I had that answer before Scott brought it up?
I kind of doubt it. You're not on Threads, so I don't think you would have seen it.
I'm going to haunt Mark too. I'm going to bang all of his stuff.
I like
especially his peanut butter.
Bustin makes you feel good, right? So
it sure does. If you only knew.
Jeez. Well, I'm don't know if I had an answer. If I did, I lost it. But since I lost it, I'm going to say I also will haunt Mark, because I'm just going to go on the bandwagon here and also drink his beers, bang his stuff, and see what happens. So sorry, Mark. We love you, but we're going to haunt you. So
it's going to be a busy house there.
That's right. Lots of PKE meters going all over the place and shit or whatever.
That's not ectoplasm.
Yeah, anything you want to add in here? In the peanut butter.
Right.
Yeah, anything you want to add in here before we wrap this one up?
Bustin does make me feel good, John.
I agree. Bustin does make me feel good as well. And that's why I'm going to suggest that we go watch another movie that is not this one. Perhaps the first Ghostbusters movie. Maybe that will be in the show notes. Who knows? As far as our show is concerned, though, you can, if you would like to interact with us, you can do that on your social platform of choice, assuming that we're on it. You can find us at Dewey Podmonster. You'll actually be mostly replying to me, but if you want to, haunt via social networks, that's the place to do it. If you're looking to haunt us on Blue Sky, you can do it at crap.town. Of course, you can go to our website, which is crap.town, or you can go to yourunpodcast.com, where you can find all of our episodes or all the other great shows, including Scott and Mark's show, where you can listen to the person that everyone is haunting on this episode, being Mark. So, Sean, what am I forgetting?
I was going to say, if you want your answer to the question of the week read on the show, you got to answer the question of the week, and you got to go on social media to find that question of the week. You can find it on all the places John cares about, at Dewey Podmonster. You can find it on Blue Sky at crap.town. You can find me at internalbleeding.crap.town on Blue Sky exclusively. I almost forgot where I was. Happens all the time. If you like any of the things, or if you're interested in any of the things we talked about on this show, you can check our show notes out. We usually try and make them free as possible. So I'm going to tell you, I don't know of another show that provides multiple hours of entertainment, mostly for free, for nothing, for free. It's free. You go to the show notes, you click the thing, it's free. If it's not free, it's going to be on Amazon. It's going to say Amazon in parentheses after the title of the thing. If you click those things, those are affiliate links. If you click it, if you purchase the movie, or if you click the link and you buy anything else, literally anything else from Amazon, we get a very small portion of that. That helps the show. The other way to help the show is to leave a review or tell a friend. If you know a friend that likes shitty movies, or even just movies that are, I don't know, shitty, like Ghostbusters 2, tell them about this show. They might like this show, and then they'll be your friend for an even longer time. John.
Very good, Lewis. Short but pointless. Swell up, Butthorns. We'll see you next week.
Swill up. Bird season's over, Butthorn.
Bobby Brown has entered the chat.
Yeah, I did love that song.